I don't know. Look, I don't know if it was Andrew Berry, if it was Jimmy and D. Haslam. I don't know if it was Stefanski. But he showed sung a different tune today compared to what last night and what he's been singing all the way up until this. This is a different harmony here. I ain't never heard him sing like this before. I mean, this must be auto-tuned.
Hey, listen, you got to do what you got to do. And I think, honestly, I think that locker room, I think they would have riot. I think the fans would riot because enough is enough. I think that the fans are fed up. I think the people inside the organization are fed up. I think the players inside the locker room.
Good evening and welcome to Blitz Central. Tonight, a story that is shaking the very foundation of the Cleveland Browns organization. Sources inside Berea tell us owner Jimmy Haslam personally confronted head coach Kevin Stefanski in a closed-door meeting that multiple team employees describe as heated beyond anything we've seen in the Haslam era. And the flashpoint was Jeudy, Shedeur Sanders, and a public defense that crossed an invisible but very real line.
Kevin, I'm just wondering, did you see that there was a sideline confrontation that happened between Shedeur Sanders and Jeudy? And I know that that's part of football, that those kind of things do happen. But I'm just wondering, what you not only thought of that.
What began as a seemingly innocuous social media exchange has escalated into the most serious internal crisis of the 2025 season for Cleveland. By the time you finish watching this breakdown, you will understand why some league executives are already whispering that jobs, including Kevin Stefanski's, could hang in the balance before the calendar turns to 2026. Let's go inside the building. On the surface, the inciting incident appears almost trivial in the NFL's endless content churn. Last Thursday night, following Colorado's 38-31 victory over Oklahoma State, a clip went viral of quarterback Shedeur Sanders gesturing toward the sideline and yelling, "I'm him," after a 42-yard touchdown scramble. Within minutes, Browns wide receiver Jeudy reposted the clip on his Instagram story with 3 fire emojis and the caption, "Future so bright, I need shades." For most observers, it was standard athlete hype, nothing more. But in Cleveland, where the organization has spent 2 years publicly and privately courting Shedeur Sanders as the potential cornerstone of its post-Deshaun Watson future, Jeudy's post was interpreted by some in the building as a direct endorsement of Sanders over the current regime's quarterback room. Sources with knowledge of the situation say front office personnel immediately flagged the post to ownership. Less than 48 hours later, Jimmy Haslam requested a face-to-face meeting with Kevin Stefanski, and what transpired in that room has sent shockwaves through the entire AFC North.
Hey, listen, you got to do what you got to do. And I think, honestly, I think that locker room, I think they would have riot. I think the fans would riot because enough is enough. I think that the fans are fed up. I think the people inside the organization are fed up. I think the players inside the locker room, this is what they want. So I think Stefanski kind of have his hands maybe tied behind his back, despite this might not be wanting the decision that he wants to make.
To fully grasp why this moment carries so much weight, we need to understand the 4 central figures and the fragile ecosystem they inhabit. First, Jimmy Haslam. Since purchasing the Browns in 2012, Haslam has overseen 10 head coaches or interim replacements, if you count the interim tags, an average tenure of just over 1 calendar year. He has never been shy about making his voice heard. Multiple former staffers have described Haslam's management style as passionate but impatient, with one former executive telling me off the record, "Jimmy wants to win so badly that sometimes the temperature in the room rises faster than the strategy can keep up." Second, Kevin Stefanski. The 2020 and 2023 Coach of the Year entered the season on the proverbial hot seat after 3 consecutive losing campaigns. Despite a reputation for steady leadership, Stefanski's job security has been openly debated on Cleveland radio for 18 months. League sources say Haslam granted Stefanski a quiet, 1-year prove-it extension last offseason, meaning every decision in 2025 is being scrutinized through the lens of 2026 employment.
Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski pretty much brushed off the fact that Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders had a confrontation on the sideline. Steve Smith Sr. years ago warned us about Jeudy. I have the video clips in this video. We're going to talk about all that, so let's get to it.
Jeudy. Acquired in the blockbuster March 2024 trade with Denver, Jeudy arrived with a 4-year, $105 million extension, and the expectation that he would be the alpha receiver the Browns have lacked since the Josh Gordon era. His on-field production, 78 catches, 1,012 yards, 5 touchdowns through 12 games, has been solid but hardly transcendent. Off the field, Jeudy has developed a reputation as outspoken and unfiltered, a trait that endeared him to some teammates but has occasionally raised eyebrows in a locker room that prides itself on next-man-up discipline. And finally, Shedeur Sanders, the ghost in the machine. The Colorado quarterback is almost universally projected as a top 3 pick in the 2026 draft, with Cleveland, the New York Giants, Las Vegas, and Tennessee considered the most quarterback-needy teams in that range. The Browns have sent multiple high-ranking staffers, including GM Andrew Berry and assistant GM Glenn Cook, to every Colorado game this season. Scouts have been instructed to file detailed character and leadership reports in addition to pure arm talent evaluations. In short, Shedeur Sanders is not just a prospect for Cleveland, he is the prospect. Let's reconstruct the timeline with precision. Thursday, November 20th, 11:47 p.m. Eastern Time. Jeudy posts the Shedeur clip with the "Future So Bright" caption. Friday, November 21st, 9:15 a.m., a member of the Browns' social media monitoring team flags the post in the daily media report that goes to Haslam, Berry, and Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta.
Friday, 2:30 p.m. According to 2 sources, Haslam calls Andrew Berry and asks point-blank whether Jeudy's post constitutes tampering adjacency or simply player expression. Berry reportedly assures Haslam it is the latter, but the owner remains agitated. Saturday, November 22nd, media day before the Steelers game. A local reporter asks Stefanski about Jeudy's post in the context of the quarterback situation. Stefanski's full answer: "Look, Jerry is a passionate competitor. He sees elite play and he reacts. That's who he is. We love that fire. As far as any bigger meaning, I'm worried about Ben Roethlisberger's successor on the other sideline tomorrow, not social media captions." That answer was intended to diffuse. Instead, multiple sources say it infuriated Haslam, who interpreted Stefanski's defense of Jeudy as tacit approval of a player publicly recruiting, or at the very least, hyping, the quarterback who could replace the head coach's hand-picked veteran room. Sunday, November 23rd. Browns defeat Pittsburgh 24-19. A much-needed win temporarily quiets external noise, but inside the facility, the tension is building. Monday, November 24th, Players' Day Off. Haslam requests a 10 a.m. meeting with Stefanski in the owner's office at the team facility. Present, Haslam, Stefanski, and Vice President of Communications Peter John Baptiste as a witness. The meeting lasts approximately 35 minutes.
According to 3 separate sources briefed on the exchange, Haslam opened by saying, and I'm paraphrasing here based on consistent accounts, "Kevin, I need to understand why our head coach is publicly defending a player who just took a shot at our quarterback room 2 weeks before a division stretch run." Stefanski reportedly pushed back, emphasizing that he views his primary job as protecting the locker room, and that Jeudy's post was not malicious. Sources say voices were raised, unusual for the typically even-keeled Stefanski, and that Haslam at one point reminded the coach that this organization has been through too much embarrassment to invite more of it voluntarily. The meeting ended without resolution, but with a clear message from ownership. The Jeudy situation was now on the head coach's permanent record. This was not a casual disagreement over social media policy. 3 fault lines converged in that room. First, the Deshaun Watson factor. Watson is owed $46 million fully guaranteed in each of the next 2 seasons. Publicly, the Browns continue to insist he is the starter when healthy. Privately, multiple sources say the organization has already begun modeling 2026 cap scenarios that involve moving on, scenarios that become dramatically easier with a high-end rookie quarterback on a 5-year, cost-controlled deal. Jeudy's post, however benign, was seen by some in ownership as a player sensing which way the wind is blowing and signaling it to the world. Second, the power dynamic. Haslam has final say on all football decisions, a structure that differs from more GM-empowered organizations. By confronting Stefanski directly rather than routing concerns through Andrew Berry, Haslam sent a message. Certain topics bypass the traditional chain of command.
Third, the perception of control. Cleveland is 6-6 and very much alive in the AFC wildcard race. A public rift between owner and coach at this juncture risked torpedoing whatever momentum the team built with the Pittsburgh win. One veteran player texted me Monday night, "We finally beat the Steelers and the headlines are about Instagram? Come on, man." So how has the locker room responded? The veteran leadership core, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Joel Bitonio, has gone radio silent publicly, which in itself speaks volumes. Younger players are split. Some view Jeudy's post as harmless swagger. Others quietly agree with the front office that it was poor timing with the team fighting for playoff positioning. One Pro Bowl player, speaking on condition of anonymity, told me, "Jerry's my guy, but we all know the rules. You don't poke the bear when the bear pays everybody. Coach tried to protect him, and now Coach is catching heat. That's not a good look for any of us." Another fascinating subplot, Amari Cooper, traded to Buffalo in October, liked a series of tweets critical of the Browns' handling of the situation. Subtle, but not lost on the Cleveland receiving corps. Perhaps most telling, Jeudy himself has been made available to local media exactly once since the confrontation, and when asked about the post, he offered a clipped, "I was just showing love to a guy making plays, that's it." Body language suggested otherwise. Across the league, opinions are sharp and divided. One NFC general manager texted me, "If I'm Cleveland, I'm privately thrilled Jeudy is already recruiting Shedeur. Publicly, though, you can't let it slide or you lose the room." An AFC personnel executive offered the counterpoint, "Haslam just showed every player in that building that if you say the wrong thing on social media, the owner will dress down the head coach over it. Good luck getting free agents to sign there." Longtime NFL columnist Peter King reported on Tuesday that multiple agents have reached out to the league office informally to ask whether the Browns' reaction constitutes an overreach into player expression. No formal inquiry has been opened, but the mere fact that the question is being asked underscores how far this story has traveled in less than a week. Make no mistake, the stakes here are enormous. For Kevin Stefanski, this incident has transformed a winnable 2025 season into a daily referendum on his future. Beat the Chiefs this Sunday, and much is forgiven. Lose 3 of the next 5, and the Jeudy meeting will be cited in every Why Stefanski Must Go column from now until Black Monday. For Jerry Jeudy, the margin for error has shrunk dramatically. A 4 for 38 performance against Kansas City could reignite the narrative that he is an expensive distraction rather than the #1 receiver the Browns paid for. For the offense as a whole, chemistry is now a legitimate concern. Quarterback remains the elephant in the room, but the receiver who was supposed to be the antidote has inadvertently become another stressor. And finally, for the 2026 quarterback decision, this episode has crystallized the stakes. If the Browns finish with a top 5 pick and Shedeur Sanders is sitting there, the organization will have to answer whether it is willing to hand the keys to a rookie whose mere highlight reel can cause internal earthquakes before he ever signs a contract. The national reaction has been swift and polarized. FS1's Nick Wright called Haslam's actions the most thin-skinned owner outburst since the meddlesome era in Dallas. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky countered that Stefanski failed Leadership 101 by not recognizing the bigger picture. On Cleveland Talk Radio, the phones have been molten. One caller summed up the fan base sentiment perhaps better than any pundit. "I've watched this team lose for 25 years. If Jerry Jeudy posting 3 fire emojis is what finally gets us a real quarterback, then post away." Here's the bottom line. The Cleveland Browns are 6-6 in a conference where 9-8 might sneak into the playoffs. They employ one of the league's elite defenses, a top 5 offensive line when healthy, and a receiving core that on paper should be terrifying opponents. Yet tonight, the conversation is not about matchups or schematics. It is about whether an owner overreacted, whether a head coach miscalculated, and whether a wide receiver's Instagram story just became the most expensive social media post in franchise history. In the coming days, cooler heads may prevail. Jerry Jeudy may reel off 3 100-yard games. Kevin Stefanski may outcoach Andy Reid on Sunday. Jimmy Haslam may release a statement about passionate discussions being part of building a winner. But the damage is done. A fault line that was always there, between past mistakes, present urgency, and future ambition, has now been exposed for the entire league to see. This is no longer just a story about a social media post. It is a referendum on whether the Cleveland Browns have finally learned how to manage success, or whether the same impulses that produced a decade of dysfunction still lurk beneath the surface.